Hi, welcome to True Crime Talk. This is Kathleen, and this video is about missing Jason Jolkowski. Jason went missing on June 13th of 2001 at the age of 19 while walking to Benson High School in Omaha, Nebraska to meet a coworker for a ride to work. He has never been seen or heard from since. His case remains under investigation by the Omaha Police Department. The last person or the last family member to see Jason was his 13-year-old brother, and Jason lived at 3425 North 48th Street in Omaha, Nebraska. This is the NamUs National Missing and Unidentified Person System webpage for Jason. Has the date of last contact, June 13, 2001, missing from Omaha, Nebraska. Says 20 years, but I believe he was 19 at the time he went missing. I could be wrong, but other articles I've read said 19. He would currently be 43 years of age. His middle name was Anthony. Nicknames JJ. He's white, male, about 165 pounds and 6'1". Last known location, as I said, was Omaha, Nebraska, which is Douglas County, Nebraska. And it says Jason went missing when he was 19 years old. His photo is shown aged to 27 years. Jason was last seen leaving his home to walk to Benson High School, where he was supposed to meet a coworker for a ride to work. He never arrived at the school and has not been heard from since. Jason's nickname is JJ. Hair color brown, left eye color brown, right eye color brown. Clothing and accessories, blue Cubs cap. Clothing, white Chicago Cubs or Sammy Sosa t-shirt, black dress pants, and also carrying a red work t-shirt with Fazoli's on it. Fazoli's was the restaurant that he worked at, which is where he was supposed to be going once he met up with his coworker, but he never made it to the coworker waiting for him at the high school. He was wearing black dress shoes. And these are his pictures that they have on NamUs for him. This is an age progression picture from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And it's about age 27 progressed to. And this is another age progression photo. And that one's about age 31. And like I said, the Omaha Police Department is the investigating agency for this case. And their phone number is 402-444-5818. And this is another webpage I found called disappearedblog.com about his case. And this was updated on December 30th of 2023, but it has basically the same information. There's his picture. He's 19 years old, and he's, of course, still missing. Last seen in Omaha, Nebraska on June 13th, 2001. He disappeared while walking from his family home towards his former high school to meet his ride for work. Jason Anthony Jolkowski was born on June 24, 1981 in Grand Island, Nebraska to parents Kelly Murphy and Jim Jolkowski. He had a mild learning disability related to speech and language, but was described as having above average intelligence. Jason graduated from Benson High School in Omaha and went on to attend Iowa Western Community College in Council Bluffs. He enrolled in a radio broadcasting program and aspired to be a disc jockey after graduating. At the time of his disappearance, Jason was single and lived with his parents and little brother in a house near 48th and Bedford Streets in Omaha, Nebraska. He worked part-time at Fazoli's, an Italian-American restaurant chain on 80th and Cass Streets in Omaha. On June 13, 2001, Jason and his younger brother were home alone on summer break from school when their parents left for work. Later that morning, Jason received a call from his boss at Fazoli's asking him to come in early for work. At the time, Jason's car was at the mechanic's shop, so his boss offered to send one of his coworkers to pick him up. They arranged to meet up at his former school's parking lot at 11 a.m. within walking distance from Jason's family home. After the call, Jason did a few chores and started getting ready for work. Around 10:45 a.m., he was seen by a neighbor helping his younger brother bring the empty trash cans from the curb into the garage before leaving in the direction of Benson High School. Between 11:15 and 11:30 a.m., his boss called the house when Jason failed to show up to meet his ride at Benson High School. Jason Jolkowski never made it to work that day and has never been heard from again. The next morning, his parents filed a missing person report with the Omaha Police Department, mistakenly believing there was a 24-hour wait before police would accept a missing persons report. Police initially considered Jason Jolkowski's disappearance as a typical teenage runaway scenario. 10 days after his disappearance, authorities began to interview neighbors and conduct ground searches, but they found no sign or any clues to Jason's whereabouts. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So it was 10 days from the day he went missing to the police actually started talking to the neighbors in his neighborhood and stuff like that. So there's 10 days lost where somebody could have gotten away with something or did something with him. So that's 10 days between the actual investigation starting and the day that he went missing. According to surveillance cameras, Jason never made it to Benson High School's campus. The 7-block route between his family home and the school are quiet residential streets with little pedestrian or vehicle traffic. Since his disappearance, his bank account and cell phone have had no activity. His car was left at the auto repair shop, and his last paycheck left at work. In his room, he left behind all his personal belongings, and there were no signs he planned to leave. Jason did not have a history of running away and was not a troubled teen. He was not involved with drugs or alcohol and had no reason to run off. At the time he went missing, he was carrying only $60 in cash on him. Foul play is suspected in Jason's disappearance, but authorities found no body, no clues or evidence in the case. In 2003, his parents founded Project Jason, a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting the families of missing people. The organization focused on case assessment, resources, and support for families of the missing. In 2005, Jason's Law was passed in Nebraska to allow for the creation of a state missing persons clearinghouse to gather and disseminate information about missing persons. The circumstances of Jason's disappearance remain unclear, and his case is currently classified as missing. His case remains unsolved. There's another picture of him. And like I said, he's a white male with brown hair and brown eyes, and he was 6'1" and about 165 pounds. And as I said, also, he's wearing a white Chicago Cubs t-shirt, a Chicago Cubs baseball cap, black dress pants, and black dress shoes. At the time of his disappearance, he was carrying his red work t-shirt with him. So he was probably carrying his work shirt, obviously, so he wouldn't get it sweaty on his walk to work. So he didn't want to get sweaty between walking from his home to his coworker who was waiting for him at the high school. So he just carried it and probably would have changed into it at work or in the car or whatever. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Jason, please contact the Omaha Police Department at 402-444-5818 or 402-444-5690, or call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 800-843-5678. And it has videos and flyers. So this is a good resource if you want more information on people who are missing. This website here. This is Google Earth, and Jason lived at 3425 North 48th Street in Omaha, Nebraska, and this would have been his home right here. And the school is his school that he was walking to is down here, Benson High School. So he would have probably taken this route, or he could have took this route to school, but he never made it there. So we don't know what happened in between here and his school there. In the parking lot of his high school, he was expected to meet up with a coworker to be taken to Fazoli's to go to work. As you can see, it's a very residential area. It's a lot of houses on streets. lined with sidewalks. Let me zoom in. As you can see, it seems like a populated community, a heavily populated community, but this is current pictures. And back then, 2001, I imagine most of these houses were built before then, but maybe there are some newer houses or apartment buildings that weren't there at the time. But you would think that somebody would have seen him walking down the street. But to my knowledge, there's only one witness, and that's a neighbor who lived near his house who saw him take out the garbage. And that was the last person to see him that we know of. The last person, besides his little brother, to see him alive. So here is his house here at 3425 North 48th Street. And it's a corner house. It sits on the corner of 48th Street. I believe it's Pinckney Drive. And so his garage would have been here, I assume. And this is where the neighbor, I don't know where the neighbor lived, but one of the neighbors saw him and his brother doing something with the garbage cans, like taking them up into the garage. And then apparently he left to walk to the school to get to work. Now, did he go down 48th Street? I don't know which way he went. Then did he go down this street? But you see the sidewalks and all the homes here. So you would think that somebody would have at least, just seen him walking down the street or seen him interacting with somebody on the street or seen a vehicle stop to talk to him, seen somebody in a vehicle stop and communicate with him something. They would have saw him get in a vehicle, but apparently nobody since his neighbor saw him taking in the trash cans. Nobody saw him after that. Because, people don't pay attention. Like, I don't pay attention to everybody who walks down the street where I live. But there are a lot of houses, but it was, during the day, during work day. So people were at work or busy in their homes, maybe sleeping in their homes. Just so I'm not sure why nobody saw him, but I assume that he did actually get to leave to walk to work, because I assume that his little brother didn't do something to him. And obviously, as far as we know, nothing happened to him inside his home or on his property. So it must have been after he left his property, after taking in the garbage, and was walking one way or the other. I don't know which route he would have taken to get to his high school, the parking lot, to meet his coworkers. Something happened to him. And to this day, nobody has any idea what happened to him, but the police and some of his family or all of his family think foul play was involved. This is a Google Maps view of where he lived at North 48th Street and Pinckney Street in this corner right here. And this is a picture of his house that he was living in at the time. So you see there's Pinckney Street right there, and this street right here is North 48th Street. So I don't know if he went this way, if he could have gone another way, but he was last seen bringing in the garbage cans from his home here, and then he just disappeared into thin air, and apparently nobody except maybe the person who might have done something to him saw him again. Nobody that he knew or any neighbor noticed him. Nobody saw anything. But this is where he disappeared from. He was last seen here by a neighbor taking in the garbage cans, and his little brother was home. And that's it. And let me get directions to Benson High School on Maple Street in Omaha, Nebraska. I guess this is the right one. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so this is the high school. This old high school that he graduated from is down here. It's near Monroe Middle School. So he could have taken this route, or maybe this route would have been made more sense. But he's going to the parking lot of his old high school. And look how it just says like 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So it's a very short drive. So it says if he was driving, it would just take a few minutes. So walking probably wouldn't take too long at all. But he never made it to his old high school. Let's see if I can zoom. Okay, so he lived here. And I'm going to assume maybe he walked down this way and then made a turn here. Possibly. I don't know exactly which route he would have taken. And then possibly turned here to North 52nd Street. Or he could have even turned down here, or came down North 50th Avenue and then turned here and then got to the school this way. So I'm not sure what route he took. If you know what route he took, please let me know in the comments and I'll put that in the video. Or what route if his parents probably told police what route they think he would have taken or what most likely route he would have taken. So I don't know the area, so I can't, from the map it looks like, but I'm not sure how it was back then in 2001. Let's see if I can get this view. So yeah, all these homes here and all these roads filled with homes. I know there may not have been a lot of people out and about or cars going down these roads, a residential area, but you would think that somebody, a housewife, somebody who stayed home during the day, or somebody would have seen him. I believe June 13th, 2001, the day he went missing was a Wednesday, so it would have been a weekday, not a weekend, so maybe more people were at work than at home. But seems to be quite a few houses he would have passed, but depending on which way he went. Let's say, he would have obviously taken the quickest route that he knew. He lived there, so he would have known, but I'm not sure. They all seem pretty short routes to me, so maybe he just had a preference. I remember this map is like from 2024 or in present day time, so I don't know what was going on in 2001, but I imagine the same streets and these houses were built before before 2001. So let's just say, okay, he's here and he takes out the trash and his neighbor sees him. I don't know if the trash cans, the garage would have been over here or under this tree. I think this is right here under the tree. It's the sidewalk that we saw earlier, the steps up to his home. And this is maybe the driveway. Now I don't know where the neighbor was, if the neighbor was right next door or across the street, or if it's a neighbor like over here that last saw him. But after that neighbor saw him, that's the last time anybody saw him, or at least the last time that anybody admitted to seeing him again. So let's go over some scenarios or speculate about what possibly could have happened. Well, always think about water and holes. If somebody goes walking somewhere and they just disappear into thin air and there's no evidence of a hit and run or a crime scene or anything like that, always think, well, could they have fallen into water or fallen into a manhole or fallen in some ditch and for whatever reason their body just wasn't found? Well, let's say, okay, he wasn't drunk, and as far as we know, he wasn't a drug user, according to his family and friends. And so, and wasn't raining, it wasn't snowing because it's June. So there would be no reason for him to not be able to walk steady or to fall over. He's 19, he's not elderly. But accidents happen. Could he have tripped somewhere? So that's one scenario, but I know and I'm sure the police investigated all that, but they started their investigation 10 days later. But nobody ever reported finding, obviously, him or his clothing or smelling a dead body or anything like that. And so I'm sure they checked out every possibility. And as you can see, this is a residential area. Doesn't seem to be any hazards. I don't know if there was construction going on back then. They had like manholes that were uncovered, um, or like ditches or hills that he could have fallen and hit his head and passed away. So I don't see anything like that, but I'm not familiar with the area. If you are, and if you know about the topography of this area, you can let me know. And if you think that that's possibly something that could happen, and for some reason his body was just never found, that seems kind of like a far-fetched theory. Now, there are open areas over here, which I'm sure were searched back then. And it's not like heavily wooded, like out in the middle of nowhere. It's in between, subdivisions. Guess this is a park right here. Okay, so I'm going to rule out, and just in my mind, I'm going to rule out that he fell into a hole or into a body of water. There are bodies of water not too far from this area, but he would have no reason to walk to them. And I'm sure police thought about that and probably searched them. But there would be no reason for him to accidentally fall into a thing. The only way he could be in a body of water is if he was put there by somebody else or he put himself there as in a suicide. But there is no evidence either, the police don't think he did that and his family doesn't think he would do anything like that, that he was just, going to work. There was no reason for him to want to harm himself. So I'm going to rule out suicide too. So I'm going to rule out an accident and I'm going to rule out suicide because they don't seem plausible to me at this point. And so the other theories out there are foul play. But there's different forms of foul play. Some people think that he was possibly in a hit and run, that he got hit and was injured, and the person put him in their car. Either he was unconscious, deceased, or just hurt, and then they did something to him or with his body. Like, let's say he got hurt in a hit and run, the person got scared, they didn't want to get in trouble, but he wasn't deceased, but they said, okay, I'm going to put you in my car and take you to the hospital, but they ended up not taking him to a hospital. They ended up, I guess, finishing him off because they didn't want to get in trouble. Maybe they were drunk or they had a long record. They didn't want no more trouble with police, and so they did something to him. Maybe they hit him and he died instantly, and they put his body in the trunk and took it away and hid it. Because, again, they could have been drunk or whatever and didn't want to get in trouble with police, didn't want to go to prison. So that's a hit and run scenario that he got hit and injured. And then there's the scenarios where somebody hit him on purpose. Maybe he's crossing the street, walking on the sidewalk. Somebody came up on the sidewalk and purposely hit him because they wanted to do him harm. They wanted to get him injured to where they could disable him to put him in their vehicle, one or more people, I would assume male persons, that type of scenario. Somebody, because I mean, he was 6'1". He was, kind of skinny, but it's rare for men to be kidnapped off the street, except for maybe, mafia situations or whatever, where mafia or gang members come up and point guns to your head and kidnap you off the street. It's rare for men to be kidnapped off the street by predators like it is more common for children and women. But predators can be all sizes too. So maybe there is a predator out there who is bigger than him, or had a weapon, knife, a gun, or whatever. More than one person who kidnapped him off the street for whatever purpose to take him somewhere and do whatever, and then they killed him. So police seem to think foul play is involved. So in my mind, is it possible that somebody in the neighborhood who lived there, was visiting there, driving through there, or possibly purposely driving through residential neighborhoods looking for a person who they wanted to victimize? Maybe Jason was the type that somebody wanted to victimize, and he was specifically kidnapped off the street. Because he may have been 6'1" and a man, but if you're walking down the street, have no clue or have no idea, you've never been a crime victim before, you don't, you're not used to being on guard all the time, and somebody comes up to you with a gun and says, "Get in the car." Could he have possibly just gotten in the car? It is possible. It depends on people's background and life experiences. Like, I would never get in a vehicle with somebody because I would assume I'm not going to come back alive, so I might as well just fight there on the street. But could one or more persons pointed a weapon at him or grabbed him? But here's the thing, nobody apparently in the neighborhood heard any yelling or screaming or commotion. So it is like he just disappeared off the face of the earth in a short distance. So, but to me, it is possible that it was foul play from a stranger, but they had to have a good way to get him in their vehicle, either disable him immediately so he couldn't fight back or yell. More than one, and they grabbed him so quickly they put something over his mouth, or he was, like I said, injured or knocked out before they put him in the car because they had hit him with the car. That's happened, where predators will hit people with their cars to disable them, to injure them, to make it easier to get them into their vehicles to kidnap them. So was it something like that happened? Like I said, it is rare for men to be victims of predators like that, but it does happen. We know it happens. If you're into true crime, there are like homosexual serial killers, just like there are other serial killers. So another thing we have to consider is, was it somebody he knew? Could it have been a predator that he knew? Like somebody he worked with, somebody he went to school with, somebody in the neighborhood. They just saw their opportunity to get him and they got him, or they lured him. Hey, I'll give you a ride to the school to meet your coworker. And he trusted them, got in the car, and then they took off with him or did something to him. Could it have been a gang violent situation where, like, let's say gangbangers? This is Omaha. I'm sure somewhere in Omaha they have gangs back in 2001. Could it a gang initiation where they had to do a crime to be initiated into a gang? Could it have been, he was just a random victim. He was just there at the wrong time and a gang grabbed him? Anything's possible because we don't know. But what we do know is there is no evidence, or at least that the police could find. But remember, they did not investigate until 10 days later, and I don't know if it rained or what happened in those 10 days. But let's say he was hit by a car on purpose. Well, if he bled, the blood could have went away with rain, or it could have, been on grass and not on the pavement, and it could have just already have been washed away. And also, he could have been injured in a way where he, bled internally and didn't bleed out. So there was no blood at the scene. But in my mind, with there not being any blood found anywhere or any evidence of an auto vehicle accident that somebody was hit, like pieces of a car or even pieces of his clothing, like sometimes when people get hit by cars, their shoes will be slung way off. So they didn't find any of his clothing, any of his items, or anything of him at all. No blood, no, and like I said, there was no um, commotion heard. There was no yelling, screaming, or or any kind of, not even, I mean, nothing. There's absolutely no evidence of what happened to him. So that leads me back to think that it must have been somebody he knew that he willingly got in a vehicle with. Was it just to go to the high school to meet up with his coworker, or did they say, "Okay, I'll go on and take you to work, and we'll just I don't know what the situations with cell phones back then were. I, Jason had one that I know of, but I don't know if his coworker had one in the car with her. If they said, "Oh, well, just come get in the car with me, and we'll call your coworker and tell her never mind," or something. And then for whatever reason, they did something to him, and they never made it to work. Did somebody have a beef with him, and they pretended to be friends with him, but they were angry with him about something? Did the coworker he was going to meet have some jealous boyfriend who assumed the wrong things about Jason and did something to him? And Jason had no clue or wasn't interested in the girl who was coming to pick him up. He was just getting a ride for work. Did police consider all those things? Have all of those things been investigated fully? Did, if not the coworker who came to pick him up, did his boss or any other coworker know anybody who might have had a problem with Jason? Like, Jason may not have known he upset somebody, but was somebody upset with him that he didn't know about or didn't understand? Because, like I said, they do say that he had a learning disability, but he was highly intelligent. He just maybe didn't have the social skills or social know-how like other people had. But I would tell you, he was a disc jockey for a radio station. If you can go online and listen to some of the recordings of him being a disc jockey, and he was excellent. He was very good. His speaking voice and presentation style and everything was very good. He would have made a great disc jockey. He was a great disc jockey for that short time that he got to be one. And his future goal was to be a disc jockey. So was he just socially unaware and didn't realize that somebody meant to do him harm and he had no clue whatsoever? Obviously, because he's been missing all this time. So obviously somebody did something to him. Unless, like I said, he some freak accident happened and he just disappeared, and for whatever reason his body hasn't been found. Like, you hear cases of, let's say, like drunk teenagers or college kids get drunk and they crawl in a dumpster to sleep, and the dump truck takes them away and they end up in a landfill. Well, this isn't that situation here, but could some other kind of freak accident have happened even though he wasn't intoxicated or high on drugs? Could some freak accident that we're just not thinking about had happened? Could a freak accident had happened and somebody didn't want to get in trouble or got scared and hid his body? Well, if they did, they hid his body well and they didn't make any commotion whatsoever. Because you would think if somebody was intentionally trying to do something, they wouldn't want to be seen or heard or caught. But if somebody has an accident, a true accident, if somebody actually just accidentally hit him, they it wouldn't be they wouldn't know to be so quiet. They would be freaked out. and there would be some kind of commotion or something that somebody would have heard or seen possibly until they decided, oh, okay, apparently nobody's around. Let me just sneak out of here and put him in the trunk or something. I mean, so all in my mind, all roads lead to that. There was definitely some type of foul play involved, and that it was like intentional foul play. It wasn't like an accident that turned into foul play. It had to be, with a total lack of evidence, it had to be somebody got him off the street one way or the other. And I would think that it would have to be somebody who knew him since nobody saw anything. But it's very possible that the person or persons responsible for his disappearance just got very lucky, which happens, and nobody saw or heard anything at the exact moment that they did something with Jason and got him away from where he was. It's very possible stuff like that happens where people just disappear and they've been kidnapped, but nobody sees a thing, even though it's in broad daylight and there are others not too far away. Um, the other possibility, of course, that we have to look at, like I said, was it somebody he knew who somehow kidnapped him or got him into their car and did something to him? Could it have been a family member who did something to him? Now, like I said, he was at home with his little 13-year-old brother. I believe his name was Michael. Now, could it be that Michael did something to his older brother and he was able to hide the body well enough and kept it a secret all these years? Not likely. Not, I mean, anything's possible, but it's probably not that, because there's no history that I know of or evidence that his brother had any type of problems, But you have to consider it because siblings do murder their siblings. We hear it in some cases, where a brother murders his sister, teenage, like a teenager will stab their little brother or sister, or, teenagers get in a fight and shoot or stab each other to death. Those types of situations happen, but there's no indication that this family had any kind of drama going on like that, and that, or that his little brother was like a psychopath, because he would have to be a psychopath to do something like that to his brother and then hide it all these years. So there's no indication of that. There's no indication that his parents had anything to do with his disappearance either, although I hope police looked into that also, because you have to check everything. Because remember, it was 10 days from the date he went missing that they investigated. So could something have happened in the home between the brother and Jason, and the mother helped him cover it up? Or could the mother have done something to him in the home and maybe the little brother didn't know about it and then his body was taken away? Did they check the alibis of the mother and the father? I believe the father was at work, and I think the mother was too, but I'm not sure where she was. I know she wasn't at home, but um, did they check that? Did they check the possibility, could the father or the mother have been driving by when he went on his way to walk to work, and they were angry at him about something? He got in the car and they got in a fight and something happened, and did they check, the parents' cars in the house for any type of evidence or crime scene? I don't know if they did. I hope so. I mean, I don't think the family's involved at all, but in every investigation, you have to look at every possibility, especially since they have no clue what happened to him. So I hope that they did. But remember, the parents didn't report him missing until the next day, supposedly, and I have no reason not to believe them because they thought that you had to wait 24 hours. And I've heard that too, but I think if my kid, whether they were an adult or underage, went missing, I would still call the cops and say, hey, my child is gone, and I know, they're an adult, and I know teenagers go missing all the time, but he is very responsible, very dependable, and I want to let y'all know that he's gone. Please let me know what I can do now. But they didn't even call the police till the next day. Does that mean anything? I don't think so, but I hope the police looked into every single possibility. the mother, the father, the brother, any other relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins. Could anybody he knew have been driving by when he went to walk to work? Or did he even start to get to walk to work after the neighbor saw him doing the trash cans? Did he did the neighbor see him on his way to start walking to work, walking away from the home, or did somebody come by and pick him up from his home? Like the neighbor saw him doing the trash cans, what happened after that? Did the neighbor see him leave to walk to work, or did the neighbor just go about his business or go inside his house and not see that somebody possibly came to Jason's house to pick him up? Could plans have been changed and Jason just didn't contact his coworker to let her know yet? So I just hope the police looked at any and every possibility back then when it was a fresh case and didn't leave anything out or didn't rule parents out just because they're his parents and they seem like a good people and have a good family. You never know what goes on behind closed doors. But as I said, I don't think the parents, the brother, or anything had anything to do with it. And they've worked very hard over the years to help other missing children's families and to get laws passed to help missing people. And they have like remembrance ceremonies, prayer vigils, and all kinds of things they've done over the years. So I don't think that they had anything involved. I'm just putting out all possibilities. But to me, in my mind, the biggest possibility or probable thing that happened was foul play by a stranger or somebody he knew. When I say a stranger, maybe a stranger that because maybe he wasn't socially aware and so he didn't see danger in people. So possibly could like a man in a vehicle pulled up beside him and say, "Hey, I'm going in this direction. You need a ride? I'll take you to the school." And he didn't think nothing of it and got in the car and said, "Okay." Maybe he didn't want to get all hot. You remember it's June. I assume it's hot. He didn't want to get all hot and sweaty before he went to work, and so he was just gonna, you know, get in the car and then go to the school and then get in the school or get in the car with his coworker at the school and then go on to work. Or could it be a neighbor, somebody who lived in the neighborhood or who was visiting the neighborhood? Because somebody had just grabbed him off the street. Or somebody have asked him, like, will you help me come in and help me move this? And something went wrong. He went in the house and something went wrong. It's terribly wrong. Was there a predator living in one of the houses that he walked by to get to the school? I would love to know where he was when something happened. Obviously, if we knew that, we know who did something to him. But was it on 48th Street? Was it on Bedford Avenue? Um, North 50th Avenue? North 52nd Street? Is that the route he took? Could he have, let's say, come down this way on Spencer Street, then North 38th Avenue, and go this way to the school? I don't know which way he went. If somebody knows, you can let me know in the comments. I mean, I guess, obviously nobody knows for sure because nobody knows what happened to him, but does his parents or friends know what route he usually would take to walk to school? Because that is the school he graduated from, so I assume maybe he walked there before. So what route would he usually take? Let's see, Sigwart Avenue, Benny Street. Here's the parking lot of the school. This is the parking lot, tennis courts, football field. And here's a parking lot too. So did he Maple Street? So is this the parking lot he met at, or was it the one back here? I'm not sure. But apparently he just disappeared into thin air. But who knows who was living in these houses at the time? All it takes is one predator to be either in the house or walking down the street and met up with him Who knows? This is a newspaper article from Saturday, June 23rd, so 10 days after he went missing, about his case. It says family seeking clues in son's disappearance. This week was to have been one of celebration at the Jolkowski house in North Omaha. Kelly Jolkowski's birthday was Friday, and her son Jason turns 20 on Sunday. Instead, the family has agonized over the disappearance of Jason, who has not been seen by family or friends since June 13th. On that day, a Wednesday, Jolkowski was called into work at Fazoli's restaurant at 80th and Cass Streets. His car was being repaired, so he arranged to meet a coworker at 11 a.m. at Benson High School for a ride. He told his little brother to have their parents pick him up from work. Then he started walking to Benson, 8 blocks away. Jolkowski never showed up at work. It's like he disappeared off the face of the earth, his mother said. Police are investigating Jolkowski's disappearance. Kelly Jolkowski said there's no trace of her son. Jim Jolkowski, Jason's father, said he thinks that foul play is involved. Both have ruled out the possibility that their son ran away. They said he hasn't used his cell phone since he has been missing, and he hasn't withdrawn money from his bank account. Jason Jolkowski had just landed another job and had plans to return to Iowa Western College to become a disc jockey. He had worked part-time at radio station KIWR, which is known as 89.7 FM The River. He's a very responsible, good kid, Kelly Jolkowski said. A Benson graduate, Jason Jolkowski, has a learning disability that may have played a part in his disappearance, she said. With the help of co-workers and members of Holy Name Catholic Church, the Jolkowskis have passed out hundreds of flyers with his picture. Jason is about 6'1", 160 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. He was last seen wearing black pants and black shoes, a white Chicago Cubs shirt, and a blue Chicago Cubs hat. Anyone with information has to call Crime Stoppers. So that's one article. And then this article from Monday, January 5th of 2004. So this was several years later. And it has family still searching for missing son. 2.5 years have passed since Jason Jolkowski disappeared. Yellow ribbons Yellow ribbons once decorated trees and light poles along Pinckney Street, Bedford Avenue, and Fontanelle Boulevard in memory of Jason Jolkowski. Today, 2.5 years later, only one lonely ribbon remains tied to the porch of the Jolkowski house near 48th Street and Pinckney Streets. It's a sign that the family will not give up the search for their missing son. Since June 13, 2001, the day 19-year-old Jason disappeared, neither his family nor Omaha police have seen any sign of him. But the Jolkowskis haven't given up hope that one day they'll find their son. They've posted flyers and sent out chain emails with links to a website about Jason, www.missingjason.com. With links to a website about Jason, www.missingjason.com. I don't know if that website's still in use. I haven't checked it yet. They've submitted his picture to internet sites that list missing people. In the first year after his disappearance, they even received help from private investigators. You just have to keep searching. You can't stop, said Kelly Jolkowski. Michael Jolkowski, Jason's then 13-year-old brother, was the last family member to see him. Jason was taking out the trash before heading to meet a coworker at Benson High School, 8 blocks from his house. His coworker had offered him a ride to their jobs at Fazoli's, 80th and Cass Streets, since Jason's car was at the repair shop. Jason never arrived at Benson. Whatever happened, the Jolkowskis say they are sure of one thing: Jason did not run away. They said he would have waited to get his car back from the shop and picked up his paycheck, and he would not have done his chores or worn his dress slacks and shoes the day he disappeared. If he was running away, he would have worn jeans and tennis shoes, Kelly Jolkowski said. Bank and phone records, she said, show that he hasn't used his ATM card or cell phone since he disappeared. Kelly Jolkowski has lost more than 200 pounds since Jason was reported missing and has more energy than ever before. It's like she's a bulldog, said her husband, Jim Jolkowski. She's not going to give up until she finds all the answers. The family's latest attempt in trying to locate Jason, who would be 22 now, led to the founding of a nonprofit organization, Project Jason, and another website, www.projectjason.org, which features pictures of missing people of all ages. Members hope to raise awareness that there are children and adults missing all over the United States, said Doug Brown of Omaha, who serves on the board of directors. Project Jason arose out of the Jolkowskis' effort to lobby for a state law on missing people. Legislative Bill 203, which proposes the establishment of a missing persons information clearinghouse, was introduced in February and remains in the Judiciary Committee. State Senator Kermit Brashear of Omaha, who heads the committee, said that he considers it likely that the bill will come up for a vote in the coming session. Meanwhile, Kelly Jolkowski said she had thought about raising the estimated $49,000 a year to pay for the clearinghouse, but instead came up with Project Jason. On January 24th, project volunteers plan to distribute brochures and ID kits at Crossroads Mall as one of their first activities. Project Jason also is designed to give support to parents of missing children and to help them with the special kind of grief they face, Jolkowski said. It's not quite like a normal death in the family situation where time does heal, but you always miss that person, she said. You're just kind of in a limbo because you don't know what has become of them and you keep having the ongoing loss. Amanda Goodman of Shenandoah, Iowa, a friend of Jason's, said he would not have left his family out of free will. He loves his parents and his brother more than anything in the world, Goodman said. He'd be talking to me on the phone and he put me on hold so he could tuck his brother into bed. His family came first. Goodman said Jason always believed in working things out. She said he would have asked for help if he had a problem, not run away from it. The Omaha Police Department listed 1,850 missing people in October, the most recent month for which figures were available. Of those, 271 were 19 or older. The numbers include people who are reported missing but later returned to their family, Sergeant Kathy Gonzalez said. There's not any time that goes by that we don't think about him and wish he was with us, Jim Jolkowski said. So as you can see, his family worked very hard to not only find their son, but to help other families of missing children. Let's see, there's another article, and this is from June 13th, 2006. And this is just a brief article that says family and friends won't give up their 5-year search for Jason Jolkowski, and they don't want the rest of Omaha to abandon the search either. To mark the day that their then 19-year-old son and brother disappeared, Jolkowski family members are inviting the public to a poster hanging event today. And it says volunteers will gather at 7:30 p.m. at Lake James Park near 48th Street and Bedford Avenue. The park is in the area where Jason was walking to meet a co-worker for a ride to work. He never made it to his destination. The family is asking volunteers to help distribute newly designed posters that read "Someone knows what happened to Jason." The posters will be placed in the Benson area about 9 tonight. Volunteers will return to the park for a brief candle lighting ceremony and prayer service. Participants are asked to bring candles. Jason's parents, Jim and Kelly Jolkowski, were instrumental in passing Jason's Law in 2005. It helped to create a missing persons clearinghouse in Nebraska. The Jolkowskis also founded a nonprofit organization, Project Jason, to help the families of other missing persons. So, like I said, his parents worked very hard to help their son and to help others. But to this day, he hasn't been found. And to my understanding, his parents ended up getting divorced, which has nothing, I don't think, to do with this case. I don't know if the stress of having a missing child helped lead to the divorce, but they are, as of this time, still, not together anymore. But I think, I'm not 100% sure, I think his father, Jim, still lives at the same house that he disappeared from. And I think his mother lives in another state, possibly Washington State, I think I read somewhere. So his father still lives in Nebraska, and his mother, I think, has moved to Washington State. As far as I know, they're both still living as of this time. So that is all the information I could find currently about his case, because obviously I don't have access to the police records. But apparently the police don't have anything either. Apparently we're not missing much, because apparently the police have no clue what or who happened to him.